let's again refresh your memory what we're talking about in this scenario. So here we have the absolute value is equal to 4. So there's two values that are going to work. We could say the absolute value of 4 is equal to 4. Or we could say the absolute value of negative 4 is equal to 4. And then again on the number line, how do we see that? We see 4 over here, we see negative 4 over here, and this value by itself and this value by itself work. Now talking about inequalities, let's first look at this scenario here. We're talking about absolute value is less than 4. So let's put this on the number line. If here's 0 and here's 4 and here's negative 4, we're talking about values that are smaller than or less than 4. So if you're looking at 4, which values are less than? Well, they go towards 0. And if you're looking at negative 4, we're talking about less than distance. Which values are closer to 0 than 4? Well, we're talking about going back to 0. So what does this look like? This looks pretty much like an AND statement. So if I draw a line in here, we're talking about values in between negative 4 and positive 4. And what do we call that? We call this an AND statement. This is what we looked at the other day in compound inequalities. Now the opposite is over here. I'll do it in red now. Is we have absolute value is bigger than 4, further away from 0 than 4. So if 0's in the middle, here's 4, and here's negative 4. And again, I'm going to change this equation. I'm going to put greater than or equal to. We're going to talk about what happens there. Well, if it's equal to, I'm going to put solid circles. We want values that are bigger than 4. Which way is bigger? Further away from 0 in both directions. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at an example. The absolute value of negative 5, is that bigger than or equal to 4? Let's see. The absolute value of negative 5 is simply 5. Is 5 bigger than or equal to 4? Yes, it is. Okay, and notice where's that value at on our number line? That value is right here is negative 5, and notice it's in the arrow portion of the graph, so that's a good thing. Okay, let's take a look at some examples on how to graph this. So when I see this, how do we show it algebraically? So what we're going to do is first divide the equation up. Notice the absolute value is by itself. So I'm going to do the positive side of x is less than 10. And then I'm going to do the other setup. I'll do this one in red. The negative value of x is less than 10. Okay, so both a positive and negative, just like we did before with solving. So let's go ahead and solve each one. This one is simply this x is less than 10. And if we look at the red graph over here, we're going to talk about negative x is less than 10. Divide by negative 1. Now notice when I do this, what happens? X is now compared to negative 10. But what did we do? We went ahead and divided by negative, so we need to switch the signs. So we're talking about x values bigger than negative 10. So let's go ahead and graph this on a number line. So we're going to draw a line, something like this. We're going to put values at 10 and negative 10. And at negative 10, we're bigger than, and at positive 10, we're less than, so we're talking about the values in between. So once again, this is an AND statement. Okay. Like I said, number 2 is a very similar way. If I was just to graph it, I'm going to show it on the number line. I would show my number line, and I would simply say, okay, 3 is over here, negative 3 is over here, bigger than, so we're going to talk about a solid circle because it's equal to, and it's getting bigger, so further away. So the graph's going to look like this. Okay. All right, let's take a look at some more other examples where most of things are moved around here. So what I'm going to do here is, for number 3, I'm going to set up my equation, and I'm going to do the positive aspect, which is simply x plus 2, nothing changes. And then I'm going to show the negative aspect. So I'm going to do negative parentheses x plus 2, and same symbol, nothing changes. And then I'm going to go south. So over here, simply subtract 2 from both sides, subtract 2, and we have x is compared to 7. Did I multiply or divide by a negative number? No. Notice I subtracted, and the negative is involved, but I did not multiply or divide, so the symbol stays the same. Now on the red side of the equation, first we have to distribute the negative. Okay, and we just have a line there. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So what we have is 11. We have negative x. We're going to divide by negative 1 both sides, and x is compared to negative 11. Now notice, I divided by a to switch the signs. It was originally less than, so I'm going to change it to greater than. So if I'm going to graph this on a number line, what we want to do is draw our number line. I'm going to go in and write my values in, just doing in green for both of them. We have negative 11 down here. We have an open circle. We have positive 7 over here. And again, negative 11, bigger than, and less than 7. So it's an and statement going in between. Okay, so that's what we want to do there. Let's do one more example. I'll do the positive aspect in blue, and then I'm going to set up the negative aspect in red. Again, I always like to do my setups right away so I don't forget anything. And write it down as is. The only thing I add is that negative sign right there. So let's go back and solve. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 3 from both sides, and we're going to have negative x is compared to 2, divide by negative 1, both sides, and we have x is compared to negative 2. Now notice, I did divide by a negative number, so I'm going to switch the sign. Over here, let's do it in red, and we're going to have negative 3 plus x, because a negative times a negative is positive x, is bigger than 5. Okay, we're going to add 3 to both sides, and we're going to get x is bigger than 8, and I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this on a number line, and we're going to find our two values. I'll do everything in green. We have negative 2 down here, open circle. We have 8 over here, open circle. Now let's look at 8. X is bigger than 8, so bigger means outside. X is less than negative 2 means to the left. So this is very similar to an or statement. And notice we can see that because we're talking about further away. Okay, greater than or statement. So that's what we're looking at there. Okay. Like I said, when we move